I do sometimes lose control.
That's very patronizing.
I am being patronizing. Shut the up.
What makes you comfortable in what I perceive as a hostile environment?
You shouldn't be on this panel. That being said, Piers.
I'm just very brain broken. I like it.
How should politicians engage?
It is really Hollywood for ugly people.
Why are you the last Twitch contract?
There's nothing that you can compare it to. I'm so goddamn lived up today, dude. Shh, don't say that.
Should the news be entertainment?
I don't have any empathy for professional commentators.
Are you not a professional commentator? Today on the Colin and Samir Show, we're joined by Hasan Piker. Hasan is one of the most prominent live streamers on Twitch, but instead of live streaming himself gaming, he live streams himself for 8 hours a day, reacting to news and global politics.
Wrong. He also plays video games poorly. Okay.
What is that?
He has over 2.6 million followers on
Me when I
Twitch
spread
and
misinformation.
51,000 monthly paying subscribers, which at $5 a month means he's bringing in well over $3 million a year in subscription revenue alone. Hasan represents the modernization of political coverage, and we're even seeing US politicians like AOC join his streams. With this being an election year here in the US, we wanted to bring Hasan on to talk about the role of creators in politics. Whether or not you agree with his political views, this is an important discussion on news and information. Where do we get it from? Should it be entertainment? And what is the modern business of news? Now, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube for more conversations with creators. And without further ado, here's our conversation with Hasan Piker. Hasan, welcome to the show.
Well,
Okay, guys, Gamba is in. You have 5 minutes to put your Gamba in. All right. Hey, that's my fit. He's wearing me. What the fuck? I didn't give him permission for that. Flocky, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really have to pee. I'm going to press play. I'm going to be right back. 2 seconds.
Thank you for having me.
What does your day look like today? Because I know like right after this, you're rolling straight into streaming. Right?
Well, even before this, my day started at 6 a.m. Usually I wake up at 6 a.m. I read a lot, try to get a good assessment of what is going on in the world as soon as I wake up. And that's what I did. But this time I was like, oh, I have a podcast at 9. And so I was like, I have to take my dog to the dog park. I have a puppy. She's like a year and change. She's like a year and I think 3 months old. So she has a lot of energy in the mornings. So I take her to the dog park, and then I also do cardio. This is my cardio day. So I play basketball.
I played basketball this morning?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I woke up at 6. I went to the park. I ran with my dog. And after this, I'm gonna go back home, taking some calls along the way, and also listening to NPR, and again trying to figure out what's going on in the world. And then I'm gonna start streaming as soon as this is done. And usually at 11 a.m. Pacific time is when I start streaming, and I don't stop streaming until like 8 p.m. Pacific time, and that is 7 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Like, we were concerned that when you were coming over here, we were running out of time because we saw that it said your stream starts at 11. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can just push that. I would think for something like streaming specifically about the news, that it's appointment viewing, that it like really matters that 11 you're there.
I think.
Do you guys mind if I put this on 1.25x? Because it is almost like 2 hours long, but I'm kind of really interested and I want to watch this really bad. But I just want to make it a little faster.
Visual viewership is really important, especially because like I've noticed that my audience is, one, gotten older with me, and also just older in general. A lot of streamers don't really have.
I usually watch things on 2x, but I feel like 2x can get a little irritating to listen to sometimes, and I don't want to make everyone else suffer because of my decisions. So I think 1.25 is good.
A super consistent schedule, other than like some of the older streamers that have been doing this for many, many years. For the most part, either you're an XQC type, and I would say I'm similar to him in that regard, where you just stream all the time. You're just live all the time, literally every day for hours on end, or you are inconsistent. You're relatively inconsistent. You stream because you feel like it. You stream because, some days you wake up late and you start stream whenever you feel like it. Some days you don't stream at all. And it's fine. I think that there's, there's pros and cons to both types of streaming. But for me, I think habitual viewership is important because it's the news. But having said that, of course, it's still not like I'm not Jake Tapper. You know what I mean? So I don't have to literally be there at 11 a.m. Pacific every single day. I try to, and I usually do, give or take. But sometimes I'm an hour late. Sometimes I'm 2 hours late, you know, if I have other stuff going on that I think is very important, like this podcast.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
How do you segment out, or do you segment out your streams? Like going live for that amount of time in a week or in a day, like later today, do you have segments to your stream? Do you pre-write them? Is that what's happening?
Okay. Opinions. Thank God he's not Jake Tapper. Thank fucking God he's not Jake Tapper. Okay, thank fucking God. A lot of different types of chat messages. First of all, Valerie, oh yeah, I liked your page. I have to say about streaming, I think in general, streaming is one of those things where you should have a consistent schedule. And especially if anyone here is interested in being a content creator or a streamer specifically, you should want to make a schedule. And you will see better success, I guess. And it will honestly, you will like it more. I know it doesn't sound true and real, but it is. Because my stream schedule, it like holds me accountable. Like I have to be here. It's like a routine. And when you do content creation, especially if you do content creation full time, it's very easy to let your life become a mess. If you kind of just stream whenever you want. And most of the people I know who start doing content, who don't build a schedule and stick to that schedule, end up like not staying consistent and then giving up on content. It's like your brain will be happier with a schedule. Second, even with content, like if you care about any level of success, same thing. People are just going to be more likely to tune in every time if your stream starts at the same time every time. It's just easier to know, oh, well, this person's on right now. Let me go check. Versus the type of feeling, if anyone here has any streamers that they like that don't stream on a consistent schedule, the emotion you experience, the sadness you experience when you're like, are they streaming right now? They're not. Aw. Well, I'll check again later. And then you check again and they're still not streaming, and you check tomorrow and they're not streaming, and so on and so forth. It just makes you very sad. And then you're like, I don't even want to watch this streamer anymore. Maybe that's just me, okay? Maybe that's just me. And then I think at a certain point, you're allowed to be a little bit delayed, and that's okay. You just do like a cost-benefit analysis, right? Just, damn, a needy-ass chatter. Oh, I'm a needy lurker, okay? Very different. Very different. I think you're allowed to be like an hour or 2 hours, maybe 2 hours is excessive. I think you're allowed to be like an hour late to whatever your stream schedule time is, and you do like a cost-benefit analysis. What are you doing that is making you be late? Is it more important? It is. You're going on a podcast. It's more important to do this. Yeah, then that's fine. It's not trying to show up when you can on time. It's just better for your brain. Maybe that's just like ADHD for me, but I know for me, it's hard for me to stick to something and be consistent if I don't have a schedule for something. The cool thing with streaming and the cool thing with any type of self-employment is like, you're the one that has to live with the consequences of canceling stuff. So you're incentivized to not canceling. It's already like a system that feeds into itself that you don't have to worry about.
6 a.m. when you wake up.
So everything's up here.
Okay.
It's probably not the best way to do
No,
it.
these
Sometimes I
things
do
are
write it down just so I have a better, just if there's like certain things I have to get to. In the beginning, I think I used to write it a lot more, like the outline and bullet points of what I wanted to talk about. Now I just freestyle it. No, like it's been years and years and thousands of hours of doing it, so I can just kind of go off the cuff. But yeah, I set up like a skeleton outline of what top news stories I want to get to. I at this point have the capacity to look at something and draw back from this almost decade of professional political commentary that I've done to be like, here are the stats that correspond to this information that I'm delivering. Here's why it's wrong. Here's what you need to do to fix it. Here's a comparable scenario from a different country.
And that's how you arrive at Le Pen. All she had to do was basically go, yeah, my bad that my dad was a Nazi. I am no longer as much of a Nazi.
So I just kind of do that off the top of my mind at this point.
And how do you go about, or do you feel like a responsibility to fact checking or research, or like, what is that recipe for you? And then I've heard you in the past refer to yourself as an entertainer.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself an entertainer? Do you consider yourself a journalist? Do you consider, like, what do you consider yourself?
I consider myself an entertainer, I would say. I am an entertainer first and foremost. I obviously have a political perspective, and I'm very honest about that perspective. I'm honest about my biases. And I feel like a lot of people are dishonest, as a matter of fact, about having biases. Everyone has one. Everyone has self-interest in a certain direction. And I think when people try to act like they are doing objective analysis, or rather, let's say, not objective, but like neutral, when they act like they are remaining neutral, in many circumstances, they omit key details. I would rather tackle it head on. I watch a lot of Fox News, for example, on stream. Obviously, I do not agree with Fox News, but that's apparent. And I'd rather hear what the other side is saying and openly tell you, like, this.
Also, more importantly, there's already so much neutral content out there. There's already so much neutral content. If I wanted more neutral content, dude, I would just go fucking watch NPR. Are you kidding me? There's also no such thing as neutral. Yeah. I'm saying neutral in the colloquial sense. Neutral is in the both sides are the same. Here are the stories. There's already so much out there. It's not, people don't, and especially news, people don't want more neutral news. Right? I feel like the whole appeal of streaming and the whole appeal of streamers is that it's like authentic and you get a real insight into that person. I don't think there is a world for a streamer who just gets on and says, well, this is this, and this is this, and this is what some people are saying here, and that's it. I don't think anyone wants to watch a streamer doing that. I don't think so. I feel like way more likely, I personally want authenticity. And if that means you fly off the handle sometimes, then sure, yeah.
This is my perspective. Here's why they're wrong. So I think that is what I try to do, and I try to do that in an entertaining way. My goal is to educate to the best of my ability.
Also, someone in chat said it. Neutrality does not equal objectivity. I'm not saying that NPR is objective. I'm saying that they are neutral. Neutrality here means you do not take a side. And in most instances, it means that you pretend that the two sides are equivalent by omitting information. That the person writing that article is not sharing any opinions or discussing morality. It's, hey, this is what people who are pro-abortion say. People who are pro-abortion say that women having or birthing persons having the right to terminate a pregnancy is it should be required of like any society that likes its own civilians, right? And anti-abortion people, pro-lifers think that the life of a child is sacred and no one is allowed to decide to kill that child. The problem, of course, with reporting on a story that way is that you're omitting the fact that people suffer. A lot of people suffer under pro-choice regulation, and it doesn't even prevent abortions. It just increases the rate of unsafe abortions and death from attempted unsafe abortions. It omits that information because it has to provide this neutrality. Objectivity is very different from that. Very different from that. So when I talk about neutrality, I'm not saying neutrality is good. I'm not saying neutrality is bad. I'm saying this is what neutrality is. And I don't think people want more of that, especially not on a live streaming platform.
People who are interested in being charitable a different alternative perspective that
Oh,
they
man, food. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the prime.
probably have never been privy to before, especially in America.
What would you say makes a good stream? Because I would assume in that scenario, you're watching Fox News. A better, more enjoyable, more entertaining stream is a moment that is has more energy to it, where you're more passionate, right? You're perhaps like angered as what's being said, right?
Yeah, for sure. Or just like having fun. I think that there's streams are very vibes based in a weird way, where if you're in a good mood and your audience is also kind of in a good mood and they're responding to it, because the way I stream is like it's very chat focused. There's a lot of back and forth, and I want it to be that way. That's why as long as you follow me for 10 minutes, I don't place any other restrictions on like who can chat. That of course creates a lot of additional problems, but we don't have to get into that right now. But because of that, I think when you're in a good mood and chat's in a good mood and you're just riffing back and forth, they're making jokes, I'm cracking jokes. That I think is like probably the best, the best vibe and the most entertaining.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've never shared this with you guys because I don't know, I just didn't think to. But when I cancel streams, just know that I've never canceled a stream out of like laziness. It doesn't happen. I feel too guilty because I think about letting all of you down, and it makes me want to cry. So just know that I have never canceled a stream because I just didn't feel like it. My guilt outweighs my desire no matter what. Generally, if I cancel streams, it's because I'm sick or because I don't want to talk and then hurt my voice. So I think I canceled Monday's stream because my throat was really hurting me. And I felt very strongly that if I had streamed, I was going to like actually injure my voice. And I was like, I just can't. I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. I have COVID. I should just get better and then come back stronger rather than make this way worse than it has to be. The other thing that I do sometimes is I will cancel stream because I just don't have anything to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. Like, I think I look at every single story. I look at everything that I can find. And there's just not really anything good I can find. And I don't want to be on stream if I'm not at 100%. I don't want to give you guys garbage. If the only story is like, I don't know, Sneeko is a cuck again, ×2. I don't want to do that. I would rather have, and then I'm not shaming people who do it. Honestly, I respect people who do it, by the way. I respect people who do it. Milking content. I am so bad at milking. I'm so bad. If there's only like 1 or 2 stories in a day, I just don't want to milk that and be like, oh my God, and I just don't want to do that. I just don't. I can't do it. But I was thinking about it, and what I want to start doing is on days where I feel like there isn't a whole lot to talk about on politics or on pop culture or all the stuff that we usually do on this stream, I kind of wanted to start doing gaming content on stream. On my alt channel. I don't do gaming on this channel. This channel is gaming free. This is my little politics channel that I will keep pure. But I thought maybe on days where I cancel our main stream, we can go stream on the alt channel and do a little bit of gaming and just chilling. And I thought that could be fun. And then I would change my title to Gaming Now or whatever. I really enjoyed the Avatar streams. Yeah, that was fun. So I thought that might be an enjoyable little thing. Where's Hasan? Let him out of your basement? No. He's in the computer screen sitting here for the interview. I will release him when he is done in this interview, okay? So anyways, even if it's like just RimWorld or something, or just like City Skylines, I think that could be fun. You know, so we might be seeing some of that in the future since I set up my office area. Maybe we do some more of that stuff. I don't know if that's something you guys would be interested in. Solo, thank you so much for the tier 1. Thank you. Okay, unpause him, you monster. Okay, sorry, I'll unpause him.
Stream that you can get to. But I call my segments looking at conservative, like crazy people, hogwatch. So I try to make it as entertaining as possible.
I think like when I was growing up, like Jon Stewart was our version of like alternative comedic entertaining news, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a more fun way to get your news. And I think in a more global perspective, Bassem Youssef was that.
Yeah.
And I think also the reason that this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Sick, thank you so much for the Prime. This is going back to what we were talking about earlier about authenticity. I think the thing that people enjoyed about Jon Stewart and the thing that I still enjoy about Jon Stewart is that he just says what everyone else is also already thinking. One of the worst parts about politics and like political commentary is that so many pundits just pretend like nothing is wrong. They just totally pretend like nothing is wrong. They pretend like you don't get ads at the top of the hour every hour that you can avoid with a Prime sub or a gift sub or a normal tier 1 sub. I fucking got him, dude. Oh my God. That was, sorry, I'm proud of myself. I'm just going to give myself, even if you guys 1 out of 10 me and tomato time me, I'm proud of myself. Okay. I will. Yeah. Okay. Fucking got him, dude. No, but actually, Pogo. Kalupo, thank you for the 43 months. Thank you. Strawman, thank you for the gifts up to top of the hour. Oh, gosh. Conjureman, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, with Jon Stewart, isn't it frustrating when people just don't say shit? Maybe this is like... Maybe this is my brain rot, okay? Maybe this is my brain rot. I get so mad when people don't just say what everyone is thinking. It's like we're all thinking that Biden is an incompetent fuck, but everyone has to hide behind this decorum and be like, we really think Biden should step down because it is the right thing for the party. It's like, dude, just call him an incompetent dickhead. That's what we're all thinking. That's what all of us are thinking. Just fucking say it. Just fucking say it like everybody else wants to say it. I had an elephant in the room. I can't ignore it. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, that's what Jon Stewart was. Jon Stewart was that. He was just, yeah, this guy fucking blows. I'm not going to hide behind nice language. I'm just going to fucking say it. And I think that is so refreshing. So I think also that's, like I said, that's why I think streaming is so popular. Jaminos, thank you so much for the 11 mods. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Were those inspirations for you?
Absolutely. I met Bassem many years ago at Politicon, and we kept in touch for a little bit, but he has not reached back out to me recently. So I don't know. Hit me up, Bassem, if you're watching. I'm sure he's a fan. But as far as Jon Stewart goes, yes, he is. I am not ashamed to admit that he is an iconic figure for me. When I was growing up, that was my dream. My dream was to not become a comedian necessarily, because I don't think I'm funny enough, but definitely do like The Daily Show. That's what I wanted to do when I was growing up.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I was in Turkey. I was growing up in Turkey. I was watching The Daily Show going like, damn, like there's people in America who understand what's going on, like kind of, you know? And yeah, he that format was very it was very important for me, especially because political satire is huge in Turkey. I can't speak on it now, but when I was growing up, because I haven't been back in a very long time, but when I was growing up, we had a multitude of different comics newspapers that would be released every week, sometimes daily, usually weekly. And it featured a lot of political commentary in it. And it was huge. It was very important in my development growing up in Turkey, where people are, definitely way more, I would say, interested in talking about politics. So, I come from that background. That was something that I always wanted to do in general.
Do you feel like today, like that context of satirical commentary, in like a newspaper or like a cartoon or like something like The Onion, right? Where it's like, okay, this is we know the context here is satire. Do you feel like when people come across content today on the internet, or maybe it's the first time they're coming across you, do they take things too much at face value? Or is there a risk at taking things as truth, face value, not understanding if it's satire? And how do you put that out there that it's like, at times you're being light, at times you're being satirical, you're obviously being contrarian at times as a point of comedy?
What you're describing is something that is a very real problem.
Yeah.
T-Pain famously thought that I was a right-wing Republican.
Right.
Because I love...
Wait, I didn't know this. Hey, Larger, thank you so much for the 14 months. Emperor Swarag, thank you so much for the 16 months. Pungon7, thank you for the 2 months. Weevelyn, thank you so much for the... Oh, I get it. Weave Evelyn. Thank you for the prime. Thank you. Really, Denims? I didn't know that. I didn't know T-Pain. Oh, gosh, dude. Oh, my God. But it's so much fun to do that, right? It's like to throw off people, you know, and get them guessing what your next move is. I think it's based. I own a Let's Go Brandon hat. In the middle of my apartment is a giant tapestry of a bunch of Republicans. Like, I believe in having some fun, okay? And I think that taking shit too seriously is just going to burn you out anyways.
Wearing the MAGA hat, and you know, I have this alter ego named Hank Pecker, who I will use when I'm like doing role play games and stuff like that. But also beyond that, like sometimes I'll just put the voice on and start talking like this and be like, "Hell yeah, brother! You know, vaccines are making you autistic and gay," like that sort of thing. And then, you know, people that see that in that moment, especially because like a lot of people have. A lot of liberals and a lot of conservatives as well. They have, they're way more.
We have a huge picture of the Pope on shelves in the living room. That's amazing. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, guys. To be honest, I've been building my, like a little workout area in my apartment, like a mini home gym, not a real home gym, but a mini one. And I have a half rack. I got a great deal on this half rack. And I wanted to put on either side the leading presidential nominee that's like, but like really buff on one side and the other one on the other side, and just change him out as time goes on. And so imagine like a squat rack, and on one side there's like this long scroll, and it's a picture of Trump, oily and like muscly and ripped with like red flames all around him, and he's just like, and then on the other side it's like Biden, and he's all muscly and oily, and he's like, but with like blue and then as the candidates change, I change them out. And I think that would be amazing. I think it'd be amazing, okay? Because, like, dude, life is too short to be annoying, okay? Just be normal, have fun, have good values, and live. Live life, dude.
We need to start a GoFundMe
sensitive about politics than I am, I guess.
I do not need therapy, okay? I do not. I'm good.
Yes, which is ironic to say,
okay?
because I do get very emotional, very passionate. But like, I'm not as sensitive in the sense that like putting on a MAGA hat doesn't automatically mean that I am, you know, Republican. But to the outsider, when they see that, they're like, "Oh, this is not satire. This guy is like a right-wing Republican." So I do think that there's a lot of people who probably see that in that weird moment, because like I'm live for 8 hours a day, but no one's going to sit through that, right? Unless they're already invested. So they see like a 30-second clip, and in a 30-second clip, you can make me out to believe anything, basically, especially because of my dry humor as well. I'm very, people say my sarcasm is.
Is this from several months ago? He doesn't rock that stash anymore? Well, I mean, generally with podcasting, from my understanding, if you go on someone else's podcast, usually it won't air for like another month or so. But so this is probably from like a month ago or something like that, I would say. because they need time to like edit it. They need time to go through, make sure everything's okay, stabilize audio, that sort of thing. Sometimes like 2 to 3 weeks. I think this was in New York, like 2 to 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to recognize.
I think what's interesting is that even happened to Stephen Colbert, right? With the Colbert Report.
Yeah.
He has like a 30-minute, like it was so clearly satirical. And the social media landscape wasn't where it's at today, where it was like being clipped as much. And yet people still believed that he was actually like the counterpart to Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah, that was always fascinating to me. I never really understood that. I don't understand how you can look at him and go, that's my guy. Because he was clearly making fun of conservatives.
Right.
Like he was making bad arguments, which is really interesting because I feel like now those bad arguments.
Also, I'm a product of the internet, okay? Trolling is in my nature. If you can get a bunch of people to think you're a conservative and then they find out that you're not a conservative, you've trolled the fuck out of those people. It's so fucking funny. I'm so sorry, but it's hilarious. Like, you made a satirical, an unbelievably satirical character, and they fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Imagine their embarrassment when they realized that all of their positions could be so easily parroted. It's great. It's amazing.
These are good arguments. Conservatives do agree with that now, it seems. So maybe Colbert was responsible for the brain rot that is permeating through American political discourse. I don't know.
I think what's changed now is we're so saturated when it comes to like political content on social feeds. And so someone can see a quick clip of you as a character, but who knows what it was next to, right?
Yeah.
And they can take that 15 seconds and believe whatever they want it. They can make it whatever they want it to be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's become really difficult that like, in a way, the medium is like devaluing or at least clouding the message at times.
Oh, for sure.
Right. In a way that it's never done before.
Absolutely. I used to listen to the Joe Rogan Experience like way back in the day. It was an old school Joe Rogan head. Even have his mug. Met him before, hung out with him, as a matter of fact, after his like comedy show, because he used to be a TYT fan, the Young Turks. And back then he would always complain. He was like, I'm doing a 3-hour podcast. Of course, like you can just clip me out of context. Like, and I never fully understood that at the time because I was just starting off in media. And now that I am live 8 hours with a real chat, like a real audience that can respond and can, you know, try to change the dynamic of the stream, right? I now understand it completely. He was right. It's just, if you're, it is unimaginable to the outside world that like you're not creating media in this like perfectly manicured environment. It is very real in that regard.
That's a really good point. That I think that, you know, we as a society have probably not caught up to the concept yet that media is now being created by independent individuals and can be broadcast to millions of people without any filters or, you know, big teams or anything like that. And I think that's extremely positive in some regards. And I think it can be dangerous and challenging in other regards. And I guess the question then becomes like, is there a responsibility on the creator, or do you feel a responsibility for that context?
Absolutely. Well, I can only do so.
Honestly, the hardest thing about content creation, like specifically politics, specifically on Twitch, although it applies to other stuff as well, is having to repeat yourself. Obviously, people who've been here for a very long time have heard me repeat myself hundreds of times, and I've shown the same videos hundreds of times. And it's just that there is a lot of churn, and there's a lot of people that will click in, watch for an hour and leave, or people who click in for 2 seconds and leave, or people who will click in and stay for months or years or whatever. And at any given point, the hardest thing is making sure that you make your points succinct enough that they don't take so long that people have come in and left in that time and don't know what the fuck is going on. And for example, that's my problem. Like I struggle with that hardcore. I try to keep my points a little bit more succinct because I'm like trying to figure out how to explain a concept that's a little bit more difficult than like a sentence. Than just one sentence, but struggling to do it. I think he literally says this next. I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
Much. Sure. I don't want to, like, I'm
because
gonna have
like
fun,
you
no
as
matter
a
what.
viewer, when you come into a stream, if you raw dog just like hopping in the middle of a stream, as many of us do, I do. And I would say the vast majority of viewers do not tune in the second your stream starts. They tune in throughout the stream. So when you raw dog a stream, you hop in and the streamer says, you know, when you're raw dogging and you're confused as hell and you're like, what is she talking? What? What the? Now you have to go in and say, oh, so to summarize, here is my thesis. You have to write, what did they used to call it in high school when you wrote essays? You have your introduction, your 3 body paragraphs, and your conclusion. There's a name that I'm mistaken. Like the name, like the name of that type of essay, I guess. Is that MLA format? I don't know if that's MLA format, but 5-paragraph essay. Yeah, high school. Let's make it really simple to explain the point. You should explain it at the very beginning. The people who were there in the very beginning understand what you're talking about and will follow you all throughout the entire argument. But then the people who are tuning in the middle or the end, they're lost. So you can give them at the end, hey, so that was my thesis. I was talking about raw dogging a stream by clicking into it in the middle of a stream and not knowing why someone said raw dogging. And that, being able to do that succinctly in a way that isn't fucking annoying, that it doesn't drive everyone crazy all the time, I would say it's like my biggest crime, my biggest sin, my hardest challenge. I just got here. Who is she raw dogging? Your mom. Lol.
What happens? So if I find it, fun to portray a character, which has the capacity to potentially alienate people who don't understand that I'm portraying myself as a character, or if I say something that's like sarcastic, for example, and people don't understand it, and it can get like clipped out of context, I'm still not going to stop myself from doing it. That is one aspect. But if you're talking about the responsibility of like delivering, accurate news analysis, then yes, that is something that I do care about. I don't want to mess that up. I think that's like probably the most important thing for me.
Do you think that is shared across the board in the business of news?
To a certain degree, yes. I think no matter who it is, no matter who is doing it, no matter what their perspective is, they want to present the best possible argument.
Right.
That is what is going to put you ahead of other people, right? So even from like a pure business standpoint, self-interest, people want to be a reliable source, a trusted source in news. So I think that people care about it to a certain degree, but then beyond that, I think obviously there's other ambitions, like for some people, it might mean making money, making as much money as possible, getting as many eyeballs as possible, but in the direction of generating revenue. I want to also get as many eyeballs as possible, but I definitely do care more about communicating this message to as broad an audience as possible that will be charitable to receiving it, and at least will second guess themselves before immediately being antagonistic towards it.
Sure.
It's less about revenue and more about that, but some people do care about the revenue aspect of it, and that's fine. I think ultimately maybe some people look to more biased sources deliberately.
Who are the twinks that are interviewing him? You're a Hasan viewer, huh? I'm just kidding. You're an Austin viewer. Colin and Samir. I'll post the video in chat, the link to the video in chat.
To craft that, to craft one side's arguments, there are many massive content creators, especially on the right, I would say, or people who present themselves as like center right or center content creators that definitely do lean heavily on one side. That's why I say it's important to openly admit your biases, in my opinion, even though people do punish you for it, because that's a very effective way to just like, boom, stop the conversation, be like, you're this. I don't want to have a conversation with you about anything anymore. I will never listen to you. You're this thing. And it doesn't matter if I don't even know what that thing is, because I've decided, and we as a society have collectively decided that you're that thing and that's bad. So we will not hear you out.
Is your objective then to...
I mean, also, I think the other way to get around this is you're going to be wrong. There's no such thing as a human being who's never been wrong before. Ever. It's just not. You're going to get things wrong no matter what. I'm sorry to tell you guys. I'm sorry if you had to find out that you're not perfect. I've never been wrong, Smile. Not me, Smile. But I think the way that I like to go about it is just, I know I'm going to be wrong. And when I find out that I'm wrong, the best I can do is just thank the person who's corrected me. Because it's not possible to be right every single time. All you can do is the best that you can do. And when someone gives you new information, you say, oh, okay, I guess there's new information on this. Oh, okay, cool. Well, excuse me for not knowing this. Excuse me for misunderstanding this or whatever. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for educating me on it. Thank you for letting me know that that's not the case. I appreciate it. So next, and that's the best you can do, because the alternative is like what you build a persona about around being perfect. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Exactly, Alex Drake 69. That's how you become a fucking weirdo debate bro. I'm always right no matter what, and I don't care what I have to do. I have to have the values that I have, so I'm right every single time. Like, what the? Okay.
Like attempt to find some of the middle ground, some of the
You know why people succeed? Usually because they fail a lot first. Same thing goes for being incorrect. You can never be the most correct person without being incorrect a bunch of time first.
in between. My assumption there with most news is that like that approach does not lead to interesting or good content or good community building.
Yeah,
I feel like, but it is what is like, well, at least people say is needed and is productive.
I wouldn't say I attempt to find a middle ground. No, I think I'm very polarizing. And because I do have red lines, right? Like I always try to get we're a very leftist community. And as a leftist community, there is definitely a level of hostility to what people would perceive as microaggressions. Anything and everything that could be a genuine, honest, curiosity-based question could be perceived as racially charged. And in many instances it is, because we are all products of our implicit biases. We're all products of our environment, our upbringing, right? And if the systems that we were brought up in are obviously like maybe a little racist, like without even recognizing it, we just develop these attitudes and we never check it. And that creates what you would consider to be a microaggression. And I always maintain this position that like, this is a learning environment. So of course there are going to be people that come in and are going to have some questions that you, if you are from this marginalized background, are going to perceive as like kind of fucked up. Can I curse on this podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, kind of messed up.
Thanks for taking it back.
Thanks for walking back on that.
I took it back.
It felt wrong. He's like looking around. He's like, no, this is not the place.
So when that happens, like I always
This
try
is
to
the
tell.
worst thing, by the way, about being a non-PG streamer. When you end up on someone's stream that is PG, it's impossible to not curse. It's so impossible. Man, that's all I gotta say. Hayden, thank you for the gifts of strangest meat. Monka Omega.
Oh, my audience of like very progressive people, like you also have some kind of privilege blind side, and there is an intersectionality to that, and that there are going to be certain issues that you're not super knowledgeable on, that you might actually come across as like offensive. We shouldn't shut out people like that from the conversation. But I do have, having said that, I do have red lines, in which case if someone is like very obviously trying to abuse that charitability to cynically deploy hateful sentiments and things of that nature that will make that environment a hostile environment, well then, yeah, you're going to get banned.
Man, what makes you comfortable in what I perceive as a hostile environment? Like if I were you for 8 hours a day, I'd be so afraid of saying the wrong thing, of getting clipped, of having people hate me, at least as I'm perceiving it, right? Like how do you sit in what I consider to be a lot of discomfort for 8 hours a day?
I'm just very brain broken. I like it.
You like it?
I think ultimately I find a lot of emotional fulfillment from what I do. I when I go outside and, you know, if I go to a restaurant and a waiter comes up and is like, yo, listen, dude, I got to let you know, big fan. You're the reason why, you know, I joined DSA, or you're the reason why I, you know, started community organizing or something like that. Or when I go outside, I see Amazon delivery driver, things of that nature. Like it's the same stuff. When I see that, when I hear about people in my community that are participating in unionization efforts, when I hear about people in my community that are going to demonstrations, organizing demonstrations, and creating mechanisms of pressure against the many different injustices that we experience on a daily basis, I'm like, that's it. That's why I do it. So it doesn't matter if people are clipping me out of context or saying that I'm a bad person, because I do genuinely believe that as long as someone comes in with an open mind and is charitable and doesn't have all of the baggage that they have seen so far online about like any particular individual, they will understand what it's about very quickly. They will understand that I do not harbor ill will against them, and that I'm simply trying to present them with an alternative.
Okay, to the other people who speak their mind in chat, do you guys know what I mean when I say that I'm not afraid to say what I want to say because I know I'm being based? And that I'm open to changing my mind at any moment if you can convince me? Like, I build everything on the very sturdy foundation of empathy. Everything is built on that foundation. Of course, that's a very huge oversimplification, but empathy meaning I have empathy for you regardless of any innate qualities that belong to you. Regardless of your race, your sexuality, your gender, how you look, your age, etc. If you can't control it, you should not be discriminated based on it. And I have compassion for you and your struggles if you have to deal with any difficulties because of things you cannot control. And I build all my politics around this. All of it. Have you considered that you're just really wrong and that calico cats are far superior to gray cats? Wrong. Wrong. Gray cats are the best. We've already talked about this. I am a gray cat lover. I am gracist. Only gray cats forever. I'm taking all of your cats away. We will never have another orange cat ever again. It's true. Calico, 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 potato. Okay, black cats can stay. I like black cats too. But that's only because like black cats are basically gray cats. They're just like times 2. Gray cats times 2. What was I going to say? They're just overbaked gray cats. Yeah, they're dark gray. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And I feel like if your foundation is an unstoppable force, you don't have to be afraid of what you're saying. You don't have to be afraid of sharing your politics. Are they all based in reasonable things? Is it all fact-checked and proven to do the thing you want it to do? And the core factor is that it's based on empathy? Fucking I'll say whatever. I feel very confident. And if someone shows me something that is wrong about what I'm saying, then I will change my mind. So I've never understood when people say like, oh, I would be afraid to talk about politics. I'm afraid to talk about politics. It's like, well, what are you afraid of? You build a good foundation and you do everything else off of that. Like, I can say very confidently, we should have safe use sites for people who are dealing with drug addictions. And I can say that because I care about everyone, regardless of the circumstances that they're in. And I think that everyone can be helped. Whether or not I can personally help those people is not relevant. But people dealing with addictions, I've spoken to addicts. It's really hard to quit. It's very hard to quit. And some people's lives get ruined because of the addiction. You think they're doing that for fun? You think they're doing it because they want to? No, they're not. I also know that if you actually want to help those people, you provide safe sites for them to use. You give them ways to get better. You can, at these safe sites, suggest rehab and say, hey, just so you know, this is always an option. This is always an option. And guess what? When you do this, drug addiction rates drop and people stop dying from drug use. 0 deaths in safe use sites. That is a net good to society. You cannot convince me otherwise. It is an empathy-based position. It is a fact-based position on top of that empathy, on top of that compassion. And until you can convince me that I shouldn't be compassionate to these people, until you can build a moral argument on why these people don't deserve respect, like Nazis. Nazis don't deserve respect. You chose that. You chose to be a bigoted piece of shit. And at any moment, you can decide to stop being a piece of shit. It's a little bit more complex, to be very clear. But the core is, I'm not going to respect your beliefs. You are driving this car into that wall. Totally lucid, totally sober. And I cannot convince you until you stop. Until you want to be convinced that you shouldn't be a Nazi. You can outreach for those people, but I will not respect their demands and needs. They are adults. They make their decisions. Should we try and rehabilitate? Yeah. Should we try and educate? Yeah. But that person doesn't get to make demands of the rest of us because their positions are not based in compassion. Same shit, right? Who are Nazis? People who have swastikas in their house? Nazis. That's who I'm talking about. So anyways. What are these questions? Should drug addicts have kids? Drug users can't have a say. What I don't know what these questions are. These are not relevant questions. What the? What the? I feel like if you have a good foundation and you build facts on top of that foundation in a way to help people, real human beings who deserve help, even if you end up being wrong, if you're open to change, I feel like you should talk brazenly. And I think if you believe something, you should fucking believe it. You shouldn't be sheepish in your beliefs. You should believe them and be certain in them because you have things that back you up. You cannot, no one can convince me that we shouldn't be empathetic to people who are dealing with addiction. What? Yeah, but they're draining our medical system. Okay. Lots of people are draining our medical system. They're not choosing to do that. Do you think they want to be addicted to heroin or whatever? No, they fucking don't. Do you think if they could snap their fingers right now, they would change that? Of course they fucking would. We should help them. I wish someone was draining me. Okay, guys. No, Remy, this is just some random shit I found that I thought was funny that it said jeans on it. But yeah, you guys get what I'm talking about. I think once you talk like that, it's not hard to make. If you're making controversial content and the controversial content is based on your empathy for other human beings, it's not controversial. Other people might think it's controversial. It's not controversial. Thinking that segregation is wrong back when segregation is legal, that would have been a controversial opinion, but it's really not a controversial opinion. So who cares if other people get upset? Your position is trying to be good. Doesn't matter, right?
And try to explain why they have so much anger and anxiety and animosity and where it stems from. Because a lot of people, I think, have a tendency to individualize their anger and think that it is a byproduct of someone that has wronged you. Or even when they look at a societal reason as to why they feel resentment, like incels, for example, they think it's women or they think it's feminism. When the actual systemic reason as to why they feel anxiety or anguish in many circumstances, I believe, is a byproduct of the current way that we operate. Capitalism.
So you're saying as hate comes in, you're able to separate it from something that is personal to you, right? That as there's an onslaught of potential hate, you're I can understand that this has to do with something deeper, the way this person was raised, and that allows you to sit in some of that.
Yes, but I also do have weak moments, many of them, and
I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, people definitely don't see. I mean, there's probably compilations out there. I mean, just yelling at a chat or just just laying it on them, and that usually happens after 4 hours of me having to address the same thing over and over again, and people cynically coming in and being no, just curious. That's usually the just curious is usually deployed very cynically online, I do sometimes lose control. Let's say it happens usually when I tend to come close to burning out. I notice that I have a hair trigger and I will just pop off way faster in those moments, in those instances. But beyond that, the reason why I do it, to draw it all back in, sorry. The reason why I do it is because I get a lot of emotional fulfillment out of changing people's minds. And I think getting them to participate in politics and in organizing, running for office, things of that nature, that actually is the reason why I do it. And we've been able to do these massive fundraisers as well as a consequence of that. I randomly popped up and when I went to Texas, I went to Alveus Sanctuary, my friend Maya's animal sanctuary. And casually, I was like, oh yeah, you want to put up a donation link? We raised in 2 hours, we raised $30,000, right? And that was totally impromptu, like out of nowhere. And I think that being able to do stuff like that on a whim, it makes everything else worth it.
Where does
Yeah. Fucking yup. Yup. It sucks that those people ruin the term just curious because it used to be so good for saying, for when you were actually curious and you actually wanted to learn more. And now we're not allowed to use that terminology anymore because these fucking weirdos took it over. Also, LOL users, same fucking thing. Literally fucking same thing. Same thing. I have to say, okay, woman moment slightly. I feel like there are so many women that are scared to talk about politics because they're scared to be wrong or they're scared to like, I think there's lots of people, to be clear, that are scared to talk about politics. But I also think that there are a lot of women that are scared to talk about politics, even more so. And I have to say, the thing that I enjoy the most about content, the thing that I enjoy the most about doing this is convincing people that anyone can talk about politics. That if you build a good foundation, and it is an ironclad foundation, and you build genuine facts that you have sources to on that foundation, anyone can talk about it. And that politics is all encompassing. You don't have to know everything. It's okay to not know everything. No one knows everything. Like you said a few minutes ago, stepping in with empathy, make sure women, men, or even non-binary people can talk about politics. Yeah. Yeah. And it makes me sad that so many people are so scared to talk about it because it's like, dude, this is the shit that governs your country. You should want to talk about it. I tell my friends and family about this all the time. Not dealing with politics doesn't exist. Everything we do and interact with is political. Exactly. Exactly. It's just like, if I can fucking do it, anyone can do it, okay? It doesn't have to be scary, right? It doesn't have to be. That's cool. I love women talking politics. Some of my favorite politics people I watch are women streamers on here. Emma on Majority Report is amazing. I love Emma. I love it. It's just, yeah. People saying I don't like politics, but then complain the next second about homeless people. Yeah, it's like, dude, if you're complaining about homeless people, I don't know how to tell you this. That is political in nature. And if you're going to talk about it anyways, which you will, take the 2 seconds to figure out your foundation, create that foundation, and then go from there. I'm AFAB. It took me a long time to become confident about speaking out on politics simply because a lot of the times when I talked, I was just looked down on as this random girl who doesn't know shit. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. I totally agree with you. That shit is it's so infuriating. I make it a point, if I'm talking to someone who's being condescending to me, I make it a point to make them look stupid. To make them regret having spoken down to me. Mainly in the form of humiliation, okay? They have a humiliation fetish. They just don't know it yet. Okay? And it's like, oh, really? Really? That's how you feel about that? Oh my God. So like, what's your proposed solution? But that doesn't fix the problem. You want to lock up all the homeless people. What do you think about the fact that locking up all the homeless people is more expensive than giving them housing? Oh, they didn't earn it. So you think we should spend more money? We should burn our tax dollars because that's how we feel? We just feel like they don't deserve the housing? I'm just trying to get your position right. No. I just want to make sure I know what you're saying. Is that what you think? See, I personally think like we should do the best decision with our tax dollars, and housing first programs do show that people get jobs and reintegrate into society, and they're less of a tax burden. And that's all I want. I just want them to not, I just want less homeless people. So yeah, I didn't know that you thought. I didn't know that for you it was a moral issue that people should work for what they have, and if they don't, and we have to waste billions of dollars or maybe trillions of dollars, that's okay. I didn't see you as the type of person that's down to waste trillions of dollars on something like that. Like a silly little feeling like that. And it's just, oh, it's so good if you can successfully humiliate someone, especially if you can do it in front of a group of people. Straight up, oh my God, that is like the dopamine hit of a lifetime. Of a lifetime. Oh my God. I recently made the mistake of engaging on a comments in the comments on a Reddit post with someone who was shitting on homeless people being trash and taking over their particular town. And when I tried to say, yo, maybe see their humanity, you have a lot in common with them, this person proceeded to explain how they had been homeless and now they weren't. And somehow this gave them the right to be better than, oh, so survivorship bias. I think at that point you point out the survivorship bias, right? And you're like, wow. You didn't strike me as the type of person to have this much bias and not be aware of it. Well, good to know. I don't have survivorship bias. I just have survivorship bias, which is generally what happens. Because then they defend themselves always, and they defend themselves by saying exactly what what you're saying they're doing. It's great. It's wonderful.
Being able to do stuff like that on a whim, it makes everything else worth it.
Where does empathy lie in your mission? Like, essentially suggesting that, with being relatively polarizing or self-proclaimed polarizing, is there a role of empathy for the other side when you have a certain amount of biases, someone with the opposite biases as you? Is there a role of empathizing with that side?
Yeah, 100%. I believe that every single person is on a journey, is on their own journey of education, rehabilitation, self-reflection. And I have had different opinions in the past on certain matters that I've grown out of. And I think that it's totally valid, totally normal to have certain things that you look back at in the past that you would consider now to be bigoted, right? It's just a part of human nature. It's something that I genuinely believe. It's something that I believe for the American criminal justice system, which we don't do enough of, rehabilitation. And it's certainly something that I believe for people that have done, I guess, what we would consider internet crimes, like, something that is worthy of cancellation, for example, right? I think that person should always be able to grow, learn, try to offer some kind of restitution to those that they have potentially wronged or harmed, and then inevitably become a better person from that. This is the reason why, yes, empathy is very important for those who don't agree with me. And I do stress that all the time. It probably doesn't make it to the clips, but it is something that is very important for me. And I think it is something that I genuinely think the left as a broader movement needs more of. We do have a tendency to have a lot of purity spirals. And I think that is definitely bad. It's bad for community building, and it's also not reflective of how human beings operate.
Sure.
So
something you just said there is really important. You said it's bad for the clips. And I think that's what I found with the world of the internet opening up political commentary. But I would say even beforehand in news, right? Like, yeah, it's just the nature of it. Empathy is not interesting at scale. And that to me, I think is challenging and challenges my questioning of, like, should the news be entertainment? Like when I turn on the news or I watch, what you're doing or I love Jon Stewart. I think Bassem Youssef's also fantastic. Like, I
feel like the people who find empathy overrated, I feel like the solution is to tell those people, because usually it all comes down to shit like The Handmaid's Tale. Like, what do we have to do in society to make sure that humans survive? I feel like the easiest way to talk to those people is just to tell them, yeah, well, I don't think mankind should survive if we lose our humanity. That is all, like, humanity is what makes us human. If you remove that and you let this species continue to propagate, I don't want that species. I don't want that soulless husk of a species. That is a species that should die out. Like, this is a basic concept in most science fiction. And usually I feel like when I say that to people, they usually either change their mind or disagree and just don't have anything to say about it. Like, empathy is overrated. And it's like, okay, well, I'm sorry, but I disagree that humanity should survive if we lose our humanity. That's what makes us human. I disagree. I do not think there is inherent value to continuing mankind if there's nothing there. No. I disagree. No. Which I think is, in my opinion, ironclad. What are your thoughts on the purity spiral topic? I think that it's human to want revenge, to want vengeance. I feel like this is conflating things. Hasan's being asked if he can empathize with fascists. Well, not exactly. Also, I just wanted to say a completely separate point. I do think that, I mean, I don't know if it's the left, but some people on the left, and I'm sure on the right it happens as well, but it's very hard to separate your anger for someone from that individual person. So what would be a good example? What's something that like someone can do that's heinous? You know what? I have a great one. Infanticide. Mothers usually who kill their children. That is a lucid act that is happening sober, that is wrong, objectively. That any of us can look at that and say, this is insane. This is wrong. And I think that is like humanity that is taking the wrong shape, if that makes sense. You want to correct the wrong that has happened, but you cannot correct the wrong by engaging in more wrong. It's like sort of like the tolerance paradox. Sort of. Like, homie, I understand why you ran it down mid and trolled the whole team. We all have bad days, but also fucked the way off for doing that troll shit. Actually, that is a great example. That's a great example. Your teammate runs it down mid because they're super tilted. You have this like visceral reaction because you want people to be good. And you just have to remind yourself that engaging in their behavior will take you farther from good. And you cannot do that. So long as there is a person there that is salvageable, you have to stick to rehabilitation. You have to. Right? Now, simple example, Nazis. Okay, Nazis in Nazi Germany. Okay? Let's break them up into two groups. Simple. Very, very oversimplification. Nazi guards who were forced to do heinous things so that their families don't die, and Nazis who went out of their way to commit atrocities. I cannot understand the type of person that wants to commit these atrocities. Your humanity has failed you if you were not able at any point to stop yourself there. How? Thinking the thoughts, salvageable. Doing the thoughts in excess amounts, I don't know how to salvage that. I think at a certain point, not out of vengeance, but purely out of the protection for everyone else, you should be locked away for life. Internally, I can say you should fucking die and someone should kill you. But objectively, you have to say you should be locked away for life because you should not be around everyone else. You are a blight and you have crossed the line into not having humanity anymore. The type of person who's doing it out of self-preservation, that is someone who you need to criticize the system, not the person. Inherently, in all of us, there is self-preservation. You will do things that you otherwise would never do if it is for your loved ones. It is what it is. And that person should be punished, but you cannot punish these people on the same level. One of these is salvageable. One of these people is still a human being, like innately. The other one is, it's too far gone. At a certain point, it's just like, yeah, you just need to be way the fuck away from the rest of society. Just way the fuck away. Plant-based daddy, thank you for the prime. Who we killing? Some Nazis. So, anyways. And this is the same thing that I feel maybe on a smaller level. I'm back on the topic of the actual what they're talking about. But anti-vaxxers, if you are the type of person like Tucker Carlson who is vaccinated and you tell millions of people to not get vaccinated, you are not a human anymore. You're not. You're just evil incarnate. And you should be locked away for life. Because no one with any humanity would do that. If you are an anti-vaxxer who is refusing to get vaccinated, and you are contributing to the number of deaths in this country, you are a bad person, but you are unbelievably misguided. You are not working with the same knowledge, and you are not as evil, and you don't deserve to be punished the same way. You deserve better than that. You've just been lied to. He's responsible for so much death and misery in the world. It's kind of insane. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Lock up everyone on Fox News. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you.